Hi, this video is going to be potentially funny, if not a bit strange. This is about using people that you know in real life as inspiration for non-player characters and player characters in tabletop RPGs. As you go through life, you're going to meet lots of people, but not all of them are particularly noteworthy. But this is one of those cases where a certain individual really gets stuck in your head because of his uniqueness, so to speak. This happened about like 17 or 18 years ago, perhaps more. It was back in college. I was studying graphic design back then. I never really got into graphic design after I obtained my license because when it comes to advertisement and graphic design in general, they wanted you to promote certain politics. That's when Mexico was experiencing the early start, the beginnings of socialism and the wokester agenda. Luckily, as Mexicans, we are very tough and very violent, so we don't stand for that shit. But I have principles, so if I wanted to stay within that environment back then, I needed to compromise my principles, and I would not do that. So I ended up making a living by teaching martial arts and handling problems on the side, solving some extraordinary problems. If you have seen some of my weirder videos, maybe you have more or less like an idea of what I'm talking about. But going back to that situation in college, in order to drain more money out of the students, how would you call them in English? The coordinators, the ones running the different departments, they were pretty much forcing you to take this extra course. You need to take like extra classes that were not necessary. They were not within the program, but they were like, if you don't take them, it could affect the rest of, kind of like a veiled threat. So you needed to take those courses, those classes. And I was looking through all of them, and they were quite boring, most of them. So I didn't find anything particularly stimulating. But then I saw this like advanced AutoCAD course, because industrial designers, they were using AutoCAD all the time. But I was a graphic designer. Nonetheless, that was the only course that I found like wasn't going to be too boring. So I went and applied to it, and one of the coordinators, the coordinator of graphic design back then, he really had it in for me, so he wanted to make me fail at pretty much everything. And he was like, are you sure you want to take that? Oh yes, I think you'll do just fine, like this private joke that I wouldn't be able to handle it. But because I didn't know anything about AutoCAD, I had never even touched the program. Regardless, I got into it. I said, how hard is it to learn AutoCAD in a few days? They were like these really fast courses, 3 or 4 days tops. In my case, it was 3 days. And unluckily, I didn't have a laptop. So you actually needed to bring a laptop. I thought that we were going to use the computers in college, in the university. I had to go around with my huge desktop. Very different from the computers nowadays. We had those huge monitors that looked like all the televisions, and those huge CPUs, like huge boxes. So I was like, I did a lot of exercise back then because I had to go around with the entire desktop ensemble. So I started to take the course, but it was quite difficult. I didn't know exactly how to proceed. But here is where that particular individual came into the picture. He was the professor giving the course. He was the perfect image or example of an individual with class. He was very well dressed. His demeanor was perfect, well spoken, very intelligent man. So he immediately presented himself as someone to be respected. He had also won who knows how many like recognitions and awards for design. He was an industrial designer. So he started to give the course, and he kind of like noticed something about me. So he was always very accessible, helping me with all of my questions, etc. But I also wanted to do my work, of course. They were handling this like a contest to see who would come up with the more original and efficient design and all of that. You could design pretty much anything, but I didn't know anything about AutoCAD, and this was an advanced course, so it was so challenging. I needed to like make small talk. I started to move through the different areas, workspaces of my classmates, and I started like to make small talk and, oh, what are you doing here? And they were like, oh, well, I'm designing this and that. And I started to learn the basics of AutoCAD just by making small talk. And in a couple of days, I had a decent understanding of the program. And I just created this very simple table with a vase on top. Very simple designs, like the little curves, wooden table with the right textures. And the vase was also, in my opinion, wasn't like anything out of this world. The design was it was simple, but it looked nice. So that was my entry. All of the my other classmates, they came up with some very complex furniture and objects, but in my case, like, I had this very simple design with the base on the top, blue base, and I was like, well, I tried, right? I tried, but like I said, this professor was quite helpful, and he was, like I said, the image of an individual with class, with prestige. He came from the Mexico City, from the big city. He was like, well prepared, correctly educated. And then they started to go through the different projects. And I was like, yeah, just go on with it. I know I'm not going to win. Guess what? I won. Out of all of the students, we were like 30. I won. I have no idea why. I guess it had to do with the efficiency and the elegance of the design. But yeah, I don't know. I consider it a bit of a fluke. Partly, perhaps you could say that there was some merit in learning the program in just a couple of days and match up with the more advanced students, because they had been using AutoCAD for 2 or 3 years. And when that other idiot, the one in charge of the graphic design department, he was also in charge of industrial design now that I remember. And he went to see who was the winner. You could see that he was fuming. He was infuriated that I had won. He pretty much stormed out of the room. Very obvious. Of course, only I understood the reason as to why he was upset, but the other students were like a bit puzzled as to his behavior. But anyway, this professor, he came up to me and he gave me a disc and he said, congratulations, you won everything. You won everything that is contained in this disc. It basically should contain resources for AutoCAD, textures and who knows, like codes, all of that. So we parted in very friendly terms, and because he pretty much showered me, like I said in another video, the term echar flores, he was throwing flowers at me. In Spanish we call it like that. This very intelligent student, he didn't know anything about AutoCAD, and in just 2 days he came up to the level of the more advanced students. So that was amazing. When I got back home and I took the disc, put it into my computer, I opened it, and I found 2 files. And remember, this is a very serious individual, like no nonsense. He is the most respectable guy. And I found these 2 files, and one was a bit strange because one said AutoCAD and the other one like had a set of numbers. And I thought, what is this? Double clicked it, And guess what was inside? I guess you can say this in YouTube. Hentai. Lots and lots of hentai. Really hardcore hentai. Hentai everywhere. Doing all sorts of poses, doing all sorts of things. Hentai, lots of hentai files. And at first I was a bit like in shock. Because I'm no stranger to hentai, as you can probably imagine. But I was like, maybe this disc got into his briefcase by mistake. Maybe one of the students played a prank on him. So if I open this other file, there's probably going to be more hentai, right? So I open the file and all of the resources specified as the first prize for the contest were there. So it got me thinking, like, is this like a bonus? I decided to send an email to the professor without explicitly saying what I had found in the disk. I just said something like, "Oh, I want to thank you again for the most amazing course. I learned so much, etc., etc." And he was like, "Yes, no, it was such a pleasure. Abraham, you are quite the bright student. I'm sure you can accomplish pretty much anything that you want to." And blah, blah, blah. Okay. He didn't mention anything about the hentai. So up to this very day, I wonder if it was a mistake, if he was actually into hentai and gave that to me as a sort of extra reward, because he was aware that I had been playing video games and that I liked anime and manga. Because of my computer, I had my wallpaper and the icons, of the games, and so I wonder, was he also into those sorts of things? And he like, oh, he's a man of culture just like me, right? Or maybe he... no, I don't think so. It would have been very strange, right? That he went to the trouble of getting all of those files that he didn't like for me. So very, very weird, very strange situation. But I decided to use him in a tabletop RPG in an OVA session. OVA or OVA, that role-playing game that is kind of like anime adventures. I had this like a bug hunt, sci-fi bug hunt sort of. It was a one-shot. The typical, monsters came from another dimension and you need to stop them. And I had this very serious general, like a general of great caliber. He was like leading the operation and a very respectable, no-nonsense individual. And he was like to the player characters, you will find all of the battle plans in this disc. And when they opened the disc, once they were away on the mission, they found hentai, and the player characters were like... And at the very end of the campaign, they still never found out why those hentai files were in that disc handed to them by this very prestigious individual, this eminence. So yes, I just wanted to share that. Let me know your own thoughts on this. Do you think that he was actually into hentai, despite being such a very serious man? He had a wife and kids, and I was like, because hentai, there's nothing wrong with hentai. If you want to enjoy hentai, go for it. Like I have said in many other videos, men have been enjoying the waifus throughout history. The cavemen were painting their images of naked women, their sculptures. In world wars, in the different wars, they had like these waifus painted on the plains, right? Well, I still have to check out when it was most popular. I don't remember if it was in the first one or the second war, but yes, you had like your waifus on the plains. So there's nothing wrong with that, and it's not real. It's another way of enjoying art, so to speak. But yes, definitely let me know. Do you think that he was actually into that, or it got there perhaps because of a mistake? Maybe it was a prank. That could be it, right? Maybe like he had a funny side to him and he plays these hentai files. Although that would be a risk to his reputation, right? That's why I didn't mention anything in the email. What if he had this certain image to maintain? And if suddenly someone said, hey, this professor, he's handing out hentai when in this very serious contest as a prize, I don't think that would have been good for his particular image. Yes, so I hope you found this video entertaining to say the least. And thank you for watching my videos. Thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.